2026.
Welcome. It is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026, 6 p.m. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board. On behalf of the Governing Board, I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. This meeting is open to the public for attendance both in person and through YouTube Live. In a few minutes, I will read the rules of order for public comment at Governing Board meetings. If you wish to make a comment remotely, you should have signed up using the Google form that is available under the YouTube Live description. If you do not see the link to the Google form, you should refresh the YouTube live stream. If you are attending in person, please fill out the purple form, request to address the Governing Board, which is available on the table at the back of the room, and hand it to our Board Secretary, Ms. Sams. If there is a public hearing on the agenda and you wish to make a comment on that topic, you may sign up now or at any time prior to the opening of the public hearing. I would now invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rules of order for public comment at Governing Board meetings. The Governing Board welcomes public comments at its meetings by providing 2 opportunities for the public to address the board. If your topic of interest is not on the agenda, you may address the board during the public comments time slot near the beginning of the meeting. If the topic is on the agenda, you may speak just prior to the discussion of that agenda topic. In the event there is a public hearing, the opportunity to speak will be reopened. Everyone wishing to make a public comment must submit the request to address the Governing Board form, which is required for the meeting minutes. If you are appearing remotely, that form is available below the YouTube link. For those attending in person, the purple form is at the back of the room. Speakers will be called on when it is your turn to address the board. For those attending remotely, please remember to activate your camera and microphone prior to speaking. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address the board. The sound of a buzzer indicates the end of your 3 minutes. In the event of a large number of speakers, the board may need to limit that time so we can conduct the business on the agenda. By law, the board cannot discuss, consider, or vote on topics that are not on the agenda. This assures the community that they are aware of the topics that will be discussed. If you wish to discuss a topic through written communication, board members' contact information can be found on the district's website. We appreciate the community's attendance and comments at this meeting. Thank you. I do not have any in-person purple forms. Let me see if there's anyone online. I do not see anyone online, so it appears as though we do not have any public comments tonight, which means we can move to item 3, our consent agenda. Do any of our board members have any items they would like to pull from the consent agenda?
I do. I'd like to pull 3.4 and 3.8.
3.4 and 3.8. Anyone else?
Thank you.
All right. Then I will entertain a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda.
I move that the Governing Board approve consent agenda items 3.1, the Governing Board August 11th, 2026 regular meeting minutes as presented. 3.2, the expense voucher memorandum as presented. 3.3, the field trip request memorandum as presented. 3.4, the fundraising request. I'm sorry, I meant to pull 3.6 and 3.8. Do I need to start over? No, okay. 3.4, the fundraising request memorandum as presented. 3.5, the personnel memorandum as presented. 3.7, the fees for first quarter tax credit eligible activities as presented. This action also grants authority to waive the assessment of all or part of any fee if it creates an economic hardship for the family.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, that brings us to 3.4, approval of, or I'm sorry, 3.6, approval of gifts and donations memorandum.
I knew that was going to
Check
trip
one.
me up too. I just wanted to close the loop on some social media posts that our district made in June about a celebration Albertson Safeway had, donating a significant amount of funds to all of our sites, including community schools. So that's our preschool, our 4 elementary schools, our middle school, our high school, and community schools, and various booster groups as well. So by my count, and it's approximately $29,000 total to our district. And I just am really pleased to see that community support. We had a lovely ceremony at the Safeway with some giant checks and music and everything else.
That was fun.
It was, and they were very excited to support our district and partner with us, and seem more than willing to continue to do so in the future. So I just thought it was important to, there have been communications sent out about it, so closing the loop about that.
Fantastic. I took the opportunity to apologize for the occasional parking overflow that they experience at that Safeway, but assured them that we were sending plenty of high schoolers their way to make up for it. Hungry high schoolers.
It was nice. I attended along with some other board members that celebration, and although Foothill School District was not the only school district that Safeway Albertson honored, I think I agree with you. It's worth pointing out that to have community partners is really valuable, and we appreciate it.
All right. Can I have a motion for 3.6?
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda item 3.6, the acceptance with gratitude of the gifts and donations memorandum as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. That brings us to 3.8.
I was really struck by this Foothills School District Preventive Maintenance Guidelines and Plan. This is the space in which I operate in my day job. And I just want to make some general comments about how, I don't have the document in front of me, but I did read it thoroughly, how robust it is. Some people might be aware we have a huge amount of deferred maintenance in this country. And if we don't catch things early, we catch them on the backside when it costs a heck of a lot more money to repair and replace things. So I was very pleased to see a very thorough accounting for down to these are the hours that people work, these are the tasks that we're responsible for, this is how often we inspect. And it really points to how it's work that our district also does behind the scenes as stewards of taxpayer dollars and assets. That's, we don't really see all that often outside. We talk about kids in classrooms, but this is really the work that is done, the plumbing, the elevators, the light switches, the chillers, all that stuff. So it just gave me a lot of reassurance that we are on top of what we're doing. And speaking from experience, when you don't stay on top of it, it's very expensive. And we certainly don't want to go down that route. So that's just want to make how impressed I was with that document.
Well, and I'd like to plug for our district taxpayers/supporters, because without their willingness to support our bonds, a lot of this preventative maintenance would not be possible. That, and again, per usual, a shout out to our facilities department, who is so skilled at qualifying the district for grant funds through the School Facilities Board. Again, without those funds, the $3 million a year roughly that we get for capital funding wouldn't touch this maintenance list.
And when we have families that are new to our district and come up to our schools and they see the buildings are in good working order and people are on the campus regularly checking them, it's not like we hide that we have maintenance people or anything like that, we're actually doing our due diligence beyond just kids in the classroom.
And we're all part of that, identifying the maintenance, issues that need to be addressed. We're all, anytime we're on a campus, we're communicating about that, as well as our teachers too. If something is not working in their classroom, they're communicating that, and we get that handled very quickly.
All right, wonderful. I agree with you. I think it's also a great gesture that we are responsible stewards of the funds that our taxpayers are giving us, that we're not just buying things, but we're taking care of them very carefully.
We're holding ourselves to account with a document
Yes.
that we're responsible to with the state as well.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add one thing that, if that's okay, that was, I don't know if I had realized that this was part of this process, but it's number 8 on the, in the document, and it's the very last paragraph, and it says, celebrate success. It indicates that the district uses some sort of system, a platform, Asset Essentials, to stay on top of the review, the review cycle for all these things. And I think it's worth noting that this is yet another instance where our administrators, so thanks to all of you who make this happen, employ processes and systems that keep us on track for what our goals are, including our capital goals. So I didn't realize, I don't know how long that's been in effect, but I didn't notice it until now.
Well, this is the first preventive plan that we've had to submit.
Okay.
So, but it will be an annual submission from here on out.
And I do like the use of the QR codes on the equipment as just, being able to monitor things that carefully and scan as you go.
Yes.
How do we have smart people who know how to do this kind of stuff? Amazing. Any other comments on 3.8? All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda item 3.8, the Catalina Foothills School District Preventive Maintenance Guidelines and Plan as presented.
Second.
A second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
So Tom, I don't really know quite how to handle this, but I did
Please.
have a comment on the minutes. And strangely, I read my board book on my iPad and saved a comment there, but for whatever reason, it didn't transfer over to my board book on my laptop here. So I couldn't find it, which is why I didn't pull the minutes. But I'm wondering, can we reconsider the minutes for just a minute, which is item 4.2?
Is this a pop quiz? Is this a Robert's Rules pop quiz that you're doing here? or-
Where's Carol? Because Carol would tell me I should, I was
Where's the
gonna wait
bathroom?
until we talk about the fundraising policy a little bit further on down.
Yep.
But my question is whether there's an error in the minutes.
I think you can reopen that.
Can
Let
we
us
reopen it?
reopen
And I
item
apologize.
3.1, approval
clearly-
of governing board meeting minutes.
I'm clearly having some technical difficulties, but I'm looking at section 4.2 in the minutes, consideration of revisions to policy JJE student fundraising activities. And in that second paragraph, it says, Dr. Bartlett explained the revised requirements would be addressed during upcoming FFO and booster financial training sessions, including the requirement that all fundraising requests receive site principal and district level review, and that the governing board approval requires 2 meetings.
Well, yeah, the approval does not require 2 meetings. So as I've explained it at the training, we asked them to submit for 2 meetings prior to the event.
I see what you're
So
saying.
that you, if there's a question and you need to pull it and not approve it, and you have questions about that fundraising, we can go back and we can bring it to that second meeting before the fundraiser occurs.
Got you. I read this to mean that it went on 2 board meeting agendas, which of course is not our practice. Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Oh.
I'm okay. It probably could have been written a little bit differently, but as long as I understand what it means, I'm good. Thank you, and I apologize for being topsy-turvy.
No, that's
So
fine.
it's 2 meetings lead time.
Yes.
2 meetings lead time is
Yeah.
what it
Yes.
means.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of how that actually bears out, do we typically approve it after the
First reading.
So when it's submitted, as long as it's submitted,
It's already been.
it's already been in there.
Right, but
Okay.
you'll notice that the fundraisers are another 2
Yes.
weeks away.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Just in case there are questions.
Okay,
Same with
thank
the
you.
field trips. I mean, we do the same thing with field trips. We want them 2 meetings prior in case there's a question, we pull that, and we have to go back to the sponsor.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
I don't know if we have to like re-vote on
out
it.
of an abundance of caution, I'm going to ask for a motion for item 3.1.
You didn't
I so
amend anything to it. It's
move
okay.
that we approve item 3.1.
All right, and a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving item 3.1 on our consent agenda?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 3.1 passes, and this concludes our consent agenda, which moves us on to new or unfinished business. Starting with item 4.1, approval of revisions to policy and regulation DJE-R, bidding and purchasing procedures. This is a second reading and an action item on tonight's agenda. Dr.
Thank
Bartlett.
you. This is a second reading, and the reason that we're bringing this policy forward is to update the district's procurement requirements to reflect the current purchasing thresholds that have been changed in the USFR. So the proposed revisions strengthen the district's practices in several areas. One, on page 52, we're updating the purchasing threshold from $10,000 to $15,000. Currently, if something exceeds $10,000, you have to get 3 quotes. We're increasing that threshold, but the law has increased the threshold to $15,000. Anything over $15,000, you still need to get 3 quotes for that. We're going to maintain that written 3 quotes for purchasing beginning at the revised $15,000 threshold. We're going to require written authorization through a contract or purchase order before a purchase is made. That's always been our policy. Clarify the superintendent's authority and documentation responsibilities for emergency procurements. As I stated last time, if we had a cyber attack, we could, exceed that threshold on an emergency basis. And then strengthen the due diligence and documentation requirements when utilizing cooperative purchasing agreements. And then update the references to applicable Arizona procurement laws. So that is our policy and our exhibit, or regulation, I'm sorry. But really, it's going to increase our operational efficiency. Getting 3 quotes. I'm in the process right now, and it's taken 2 weeks already to get 3 quotes for something. So it's going to be more efficient. It's going to give us more purchasing power, and then we'll have that continued compliance for all purchases that exceed that $15,000.
I don't think there were any changes
There
from
were no
the discussion
recommended
2
changes,
weeks
no.
ago or from the presentation 2 weeks ago.
No.
Makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
Price of everything's gone up.
It's still low.
It's
It
still
is
low.
still really
It
low.
feels very low.
It is still very low.
And then there's that third tier where it's at 100,000, it requires like a sealed bid process or
Yes.
something. So,
RFP, a request for proposal.
okay, is that ever going to bump up? Because that feels like
Feels like it's
for what
fairly
it
low as
takes.
I have no idea
Yeah.
if that's gonna bump up, but we do a lot of requests for proposals because of our medical insurance is one that we do for our food service, our transportation, all of those are requests for proposals because they exceed that $100,000.
So that means we have to shop our medical insurance every single year.
Yes, we look at it. Now, they're 5 years, and you get a
Yeah.
5-year contract.
I see, okay.
It's a 1-year contract,
But 5
that you can
years
renew
renewable.
of up to 5.
Gotcha.
And then, so we don't have to shop every year, but with medical insurance, we always look.
Yep.
All right, any other comments, questions on 4.1? All right, could I get a motion?
I
Don't be
move.
shy.
It's just taking me a minute to get there.
I move that the governing board, I'll do it, it's fine. I move that the governing board approve revisions to policy DJE and regulation DJE-R, bidding purchasing procedures in accordance with the revised Uniform System of Financial Records guidelines for the district as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. That brings us then to 4.2, approval of revisions to policy JJE, student fundraising activities. This is a second reading and an action item. Dr. Bartlett.
Been talking a lot about fundraising lately. So this, after the first reading, there were several revisions, so I'm going to kind of go through those one by one with you. The opening language in that paragraph was revised to make it clear that the policy not only applies to fundraising conducted by students, but by student clubs, school-sponsored organizations, booster groups, family, faculty organizations, and other groups affiliated or supporting the district school are included in that paragraph. So
Thank you.
it's clear there. The revision also established that all fundraising must be reviewed and approved by the site administrator before submitting it for governing board approval. That was not explicitly stated either, and sometimes that was overlooked.
And by site administrator, we mean principal.
Yeah, yes. New language explicitly states that all fundraising conducted by the recognized groups receive prior approval from the governing board. And again, we want a month lead up before the fundraiser actually happens. And then the policy language clarifies that a portion of fundraising proceeds must be deposited in the student activity fund when the fundraising activity directly involves student participation. So if students are doing the car wash, or FFO is having a car wash that students are going to do, then part of the proceeds need to go back into that student activity account for them. But it really raises that, you know, it used to say that anything that, if a student was going to be $50 per student with a maximum of $2,000, we've taken that out. Just any fundraising activity, we want to come through the governing board approval process so that we can kind of keep tabs on how much we're actually doing in fundraising.
So it doesn't explicitly give the timeline for submission to the governing board here. We talked about it, we clarified it 2 weeks ago. I don't know that it needs to be in here. I'm just observing that it's not in there. I mean, I assume the site administrator will say,
Yes, we do know.
Here's the
And it's in
timing.
our training as well.
okay,
It's in our financial training.
okay.
And can you speak to the, excuse me, sorry, can you speak to the training? I believe it starts.
The training started today, yes. We had, today's training was mostly FFO groups. We're trying to separate FFO from boosters, and then we have one combined. And the training encompasses all of the fundraising, the financial statements that need to occur, field trips, the approval process, grant writing, all of the financial aspects that our groups undertake on behalf of the schools.
And who from the boosters and FFOs are required to attend?
The president and the treasurers, because they're the ones doing all of the financial statements.
And in the instance where there's a booster club or a FFO entity where they do not attend, what happens there?
We are recording it and we're sending it out to them, and then we will post it onto our onto the website as well.
Is there some method where you're ensuring that you're requiring any, I guess they're like virtual or on-demand participants to record that they have indeed
You're verifying
watched-
attendance.
Verifying
Yes,
attendance.
yes, I am verifying attendance, actually, yes,
Yeah,
I am.
even with people who aren't there
Yes.
and you're sending it to
Well,
them.
we haven't had anybody yet,
Okay.
but yes, I
But
will
you
be,
will be.
yes.
Okay, okay, excellent. And I'm only asking because I think this is critically important. We've learned over the last few, you know, there've been a few instances over the last few years. We've done this training for a number of years. It preceded my term as FFO president, which was forever ago, and it was already, you know, part of the methodology. I just think that it's something that, you know, over time, it's easy to think, oh, that's one thing we don't have to do, or we, you know, we could take that off our list or what have you, but in actual fact, this is incredibly important.
Well, and just the changes each
People
year.
change.
I was going to
It
say, the
changes
people
every year.
change, and so whilst it becomes very sort of perhaps mundane or routine
Right.
for the people giving the training, the people receiving the training change constantly. So I'm really glad to hear that you are staying very focused on this, and
We're
I
doing
really
3
like
sessions this
supportive
year instead of
attendance.
just 2.
it's fine.
Who's doing this training?
Lisa Tatel, our director of finance, and then I'm at all of them as well to assist.
Thank you.
Since you've had one of these under your belt earlier today with
Yes.
with a couple more to go, any observations on particular areas of concern, question, complications?
Well, the food guidelines are always
Yeah.
Yeah.
are always a topic. And now that we have new food guidelines as well, because all of the ingredients that we're not allowed to serve, that was kind of alarming,
thing.
not alarming, but,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's going to push them to use our food service provider, because there's no question about that. They don't have to worry about what ingredients are serving it during the school day or not the school day. So I think it will push people to use our food service providers more. And then the raffles is an area of a little concern. We're going to eliminate raffles completely.
Well, the rules regarding them are so murky.
They are, and now that we use so many online purchasing systems, it's going across state lines is a gambling issue. So we're just going to take raffles off, which was a little heartburn for some.
It's the new no jumping castles.
So when you say raffles, that would be like for parking spaces and those?
Well, we're considering, so we've already had a couple of raffles that occurred, because before we've had this training, things had gotten approved in June and before this. We're thinking about allowing the parking lot raffles, or the parking space raffle, but it will be in person. You can only purchase tickets in person, no online purchasing of tickets. So, and that would be the only raffle that we would allow. So we're still
How
in
do we carve that out
talks about
from
that.
the rule?
We're in talks about that. Lisa and I are in.
Okay.
We've said right now no.
Like, how is it distinguished from
Yeah, we've
other
said right now
raffles?
no, but we are considering that because, one, 2 schools have already held them.
Yeah.
And so then you're cutting off the other school's ability to do that when others have already had the opportunity. So we're working on how that would look
Okay.
and how we would really kind of manage that.
Yeah.
If you do decide to grandfather it in for this year, would then potentially you say it's just grandfathered in for this year and that's it, period?
Yes.
That makes sense.
So,
And I understand from the FFO's perspective, because those sorts of raffles, especially for parking spaces, they do generate a good amount of
Yes,
fundraising.
exactly.
So I absolutely understand it.
and we did have a discussion about how freely we are opening up our families and students to fundraising and companies that are doing these fundraising things for us. So I did bring that up about for sometimes very small percentages, we're giving them access to our students and families or sending them to a store to purchase something. And so really being mindful of that. That was kind of a glug moment as well for them.
I think that's a good call out though, because when we look at the fundraising proposals that come in, our role is to approve, does a fundraiser follow the policies, right? Do we have any safety concerns, for example? It's not to question the financial side of it, but with that said, and since you're kind of alluding to that a little bit, some of these is like, is that juice really worth the squeeze, right? The financials are so slim.
Right.
And is that really worth the effort? Is that, and is it really worth the ask really that we're making of our families to then participate? And some arguably yes, and I understand that, but others perhaps not.
And I understand why. So some of the fundraisers, it's very little work for the organization having to do the fundraising. I can send my families to a dine out and we're going to get $200 or something, and it's very, it's not labor intensive at all.
And arguably on dine outs, there is, at least in the younger grades, I used to always see, obviously my experience as FFO president is very dated, but back in the day, families would go together. So there was like a communal, community aspect to it. I don't know if that still is the case, but it was. So I understand how that can
Yes.
fulfill multiple objectives, and that's
and now
great.
that students really aren't involved. I mean, we used to do those gift wrap,
Oh, yeah.
right? And students
Forever
would
ago.
do the selling. And so we've moved away from all of
Yes.
those things. So the students aren't involved in this, and so they're relatively, easy.
Yeah.
So, but
I think you're on the right track, though, looking at these things, just especially from the perspective of providing them access to our student body and our
Exactly.
student body's parents.
Yep.
And those very, very slim margins. In fact, this was the subject of an email that I sent to you on Sunday that somehow never got sent.
Yes, I did.
Oh, you got it?
I replied back.
I couldn't find a reply for it. Okay, that's neither here nor there. Because there was another email that I've sent that not to you, but out of
Okay.
that, in any event. Again, technical issues at my house. But that really slim margin, it actually, they're spending a lot of money, but the schools are not getting a lot of money from it. And is there a better way to fundraise such that you're not sucking up all of what would otherwise be fundraising dollars rather than some retailer making a whole bunch of money off of
Well,
our
the
student
other
body?
discussion is, we fundraise the projects we want
Yeah.
to do, not just to fundraise.
Right.
So whatever your budget is, you fundraise to meet that budget. You don't go,
Yeah.
unless you're saving up for a big project, like
Yeah.
a shade sale or something. But that idea of just fundraising for what you need for your budget as well is a discussion we had
Yeah.
today. Yeah, it's a very good.
Got it.
At the EFFO meeting, or the DFFO meetings, are the FFOs sharing fundraising best practices so that there's some, like, oh, this works for us, that
Yes.
learn about?
They still are doing that.
And just to be totally clear, this is all related to JJE and student fundraising. None of this applies to the foundation, or does it?
No, it really doesn't. This is
Okay.
student fundraising.
Because some of the same types of fundraising practices
Well,
you've
and some of the
described
same
are.
requirements.
Yeah.
We do like the contracts and things like that. We ask the foundation to do that as well. But most of that is off campus. It's for adults. It's not really
Right.
for students.
Okay. I know they do some raffling here and there and that kind of stuff, so I
Yes,
didn't
they
know
have
if that
different
was
regulations.
fair enough.
Well, and they're a completely separate
It
organization.
is. It is.
You ready for?
Are any other comments or questions on 4.2? If not, I am ready for a motion.
All right. I move that the governing board approve revisions to policy JJE, student fundraising activities as presented.
Second?
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We are now on 4.3, approval of superintendent's proposed performance goals for 2026-2027. Again, a second reading and an action item. Dr. Bartlett.
Yes, because we had the comprehensive presentation and discussion last meeting, I did not prepare another presentation for you, but there were no real recommendations for changes to the goals. So we are proposing that we keep the goals as stated in our first meeting. Our goals, we have the 3 academic goals of 80% proficient or higher by 2030. And as I stated last year, looking at those freshmen, they are the class of 2030.
That's crazy.
Wow.
We also have that we want to maintain that 86% rate or higher for teacher retention as our retaining our quality staff. We did change the student engagement goal that we want to increase it by we want to get to a 93% overall combined for grades 3 through 5 and a 90% combined for grades 6 through 12, because we know research shows that as you move up through the grades, the engagement kind of tapers off a bit. Then for our student discipline, we're going to reduce the number of major disciplinary incidences by 10%. And there was a little bit discussion about that, but we really didn't come up with a different wording. And I think our talking with the administrators again, the disciplinary incidences is where they really want to focus in that work, because that will, each of the different campuses are going to have a different set of incidences that they're going to need to work on. And so it'll really hone in on that goal a little bit better. Our attendance, we changed that goal a little bit, and that is to achieve or maintain a 95% average attendance rate, or increase it by 2% each year until you get to 95%. And there was some discussion about our high school. and our students at the high school that has a little bit lower attendance rate, but we still want to expect that they attend at 95%. And then we have our 3 community outreach goals. The one that we're really excited about this year is that retention rate of our students, increasing it from 93.6 to 95%, with a focus in on those 8th graders transitioning into our high school. We identified last time that there were 72 a year ago that didn't matriculate in last year, and so we want to really focus in on those 8th grade students matriculating to our high school. We want to increase our registrations for our community-facing Parent Square group by 10% again. And then we want to increase our ridership on our new bus routes from Fort Lowell and Udall Park to at least 90 students. So,
And remind me where we are?
well, 2 weeks ago when I explained it, we were at about 25 on one route and about 23 on another.
Okay.
So I think as the temperatures cool, it will continue to increase, but we're going to do some outreach as well. We did have a request that we're going to approve that, so one of the bus routes goes right by Cloud and Sabino Canyon.
Yeah.
And there's some students there, so we're going to pick them up with the same route.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
and of course, we all also had some interest in, when are we going to do Esperero? So we will be looking at that in the future, but not, of course, this year. We're going to try to get this ridership up. 38 is is the low end of fiscally reasonable ridership. So we're at about 23 and 25. I think we can definitely get to that, but we'd like to get to 90 total.
38 per bus or 38 cumulative?
38 per bus.
Oh, per bus, okay.
Yeah, it's because there's 2 buses.
I am going to pick nits here.
Okay.
So we did have a number of times in the presentation. I think it only appears once in your actual goals, but there was a 2%, and we questioned whether it was 2% or 2 percentage points. And there's still
Percentage points.
correct, but in the goals, there's still 1 carryover. I think everywhere else it just appeared in your presentation, but in the goals under increased student attendance, each CFST student will achieve, or school will achieve or maintain a 95% average daily attendance rate, or increase the average daily attendance rate over the previous year's results. Currently it says by 2%. And is that supposed to be 2 percentage points?
2 percentage points.
Okay, so if we can make that change, please. And as far as I can tell, although 2 weeks ago we discussed it in a number of places, as far as I can tell, that's the only place it actually appears in the goal itself. Or else it was just in the data
Discussion.
surrounding the goals and the discussions.
Okay. I will make that change.
Thank you. I did caveat that by saying I was picking nits, right?
Any other questions?
Nits to be picked.
Any other nits to pick? Questions, discussion, commentary?
I do have one if there are no other questions. I just have a comment, if I may,
Please.
which is just to say, this is the second year that we've asked you to adopt SMART goals. And I just really want to take the opportunity to compliment you and your staff. I know that a change in how we ask for goals is difficult. It's difficult to figure out what those goals should be. It's difficult to educate everybody on your full team who needs to come along that journey and participate in the goals. And it's difficult then to motivate as well, right? Because like, well, you're changing everything, and how is this? So I just want to acknowledge that. I mean, last year you did a significant effort, yourself and your staff, on the development of the goals. The ease with which this year's goals have come through is surely because of the amount of hard work that you did last year to get to this point, and that you and your team continue to do to build on these goals. And by no way does that detract from the value of this exercise nor the value of the goals that you've set. So thank you very much to you and your staff for embracing this format. I think collectively we all agreed in the various performance reviews and et cetera that we have throughout multiple times throughout the year, that we very much as a board like this approach. We feel that it gives data forward, and it is very clear as to what we're doing and why we're doing it, what you and your team are doing and why you're doing it. So we feel I think we feel very good about it, about the approach. So again, thank you for that.
We feel good about it too, actually. And the schools, it has given them a focus, and we're all working on the same goals. So from myself all the way down through the system, we're all working on these same goals. And it has really unified our work, and it's given us opportunities to do some study and learning about what we should be doing differently. So it has been a good exercise for us. It's a good process for us to continue with, because we're not changing it every year. You're not trying to go for something new every year. You're trying to build on what you are doing, and it's building momentum in our schools as well as the districts.
Excellent.
And having goals that are further out and very ambitious, I think is a wonderful thing. And the fact that you've got that buy-in also speaks volumes about the culture of our district.
It does.
That everyone is unified.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for that comment.
My pleasure. Thank you for
Can
the
I make a
opportunity.
motion?
Would you like to make the motion?
I'd love to. I move the governing board approve the superintendent's performance goals for the 2026-27 school year as presented. Pardon?
Amended.
As amended.
Oh, I'm sorry, as amended, you're right. The progress toward and/or achievement of these agreed-upon goals will be the basis for governing board consideration of and action on the 2026-2027 performance pay component of the superintendent's contract.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. This brings us to new business. Item 5.1 tonight on new business is to consider and, if deemed advisable, to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of school improvement bonds of the district, project of 2022, Series C, 2026. This is an action item presented by Dr. Bartlett, by Michael Lavallee, Managing Director of Stiefel Public Finance, and John Butzer, Associate Attorney, Gust Rosenfeld, PLC.
Yes. Mr. Michael Lavallee from Stiefel is here to present.
Welcome back.
the members.
Nice to see you
Nice to
again.
see you again.
And he's going to turn on his microphone so that we can get this on recording.
Check, check.
Yes.
Perfect.
Do you all have the,
You want to pass it out?
okay,
We have it online, but.
Oh, yeah, we have
easier
the
to
packet.
get.
Easier on paper.
Yeah.
Perfect.
much easier on paper. Big numbers, but tiny font on some of those
Yes.
slides, so.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And lots of numbers.
High quality paper.
I was gonna say, I like your paper.
Nice.
Well, thank you.
Really easily impressed.
Just-
He's not in schools.
I know, right?
Wow.
Clearly.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Bartlett, Associate Superintendent Westover. Great to be with you all again. This evening, my name is Mike Lavallee, for the record, with Stiefel. And I'm here to discuss the last bond sale from your 2022 bond election. This was to be the Series C. This is the third and last, using up the remaining authorization, which is $10.5 million, which will be applied for projects. I'm joined, as mentioned, by John Butzer with Gus Rosenfeld, and so any of the legal language in the resolution that you have questions about, I'm going to turn and go like this and ask him to come up. But anyway, if you'll indulge me, I have just a few slides to walk you through. I'll take you first, before we talk about the bond sale, let's talk about how tax base, how property taxes work. Well, the assessed valuation history of the district. You're you have quite a bit of wealth in this district, nearly built out. And so your assessed valuation is on page 3 here. There's 2 lines, the blue and the red. The blue is the net full cash assessed value. You rarely use that anymore. The red one is what we look to for property taxes, which is the net limited assessed property value. The differences between the two, the blue is unrestricted as to formula. So it's more akin to what's going on in the overall economy. It's not market value. It's usually 80 to 85% of market value, but it grows unrestricted. The red is restricted by formula, and it's what determines your property tax rates. The formula, as a reminder, is for existing property owners, houses that were built years ago. If the home grows in market value year over year by 10%, the tax value can only grow by 5. It's capped at 5% year over year. It can keep, so if a home over 3 years does 10%, 10%, and 5%, it'll grow 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 until it ends. So it'll keep going even as property values start to soften. And so that's how that formula works. Now, new growth, if a new house is built, it's that full value from vacant land to what the home value is initially assessed by the assessor. So that's a big jump when a new home is built. But then the very next year, it's restricted to up to 5%. Now, if a home grows only 3% year over year in market value, and the previous years had 0, then it will only grow up to 3%. It just won't be above 5 ever, year over year. So that's why the red lags the blue. So the red is for property taxes, which I'm going to spend most of my time on the rest of the presentation. The blue, though, determines your bonding capacity. So I have one slide on your bonding capacity. Bonding capacity, thankfully for you, is not going to be an issue. You have plenty of it. But this is the last of your voter authority. You can only borrow into your bonding capacity when you have voter authority, which you have plenty for this bond sale and probably for your next bond election or 2. So, okay. With that, turning to page 4, we also like to look at a 10-year history of your property tax rate, see how things are going. You're very much aware of these, but the orange is your primary, and that's been trending lower as your tax base grows. And then you have 3 stacked on top of that, which is the makeup of your overall secondary tax rate. We split it out between your override in the red, your M&O override, and then in the gray, your district additional assistance override, which used to be called capital outlay override. And now on the very top is your bond tax rate. You can see over the last 5-6 years that tax rate has been roughly 66 cents. Mainly because you're selling, you had the election and then you're selling bonds into that tax base, and we're doing a pretty good job working with staff. Staff's doing a good job working with the county to ensure that we're not exceeding that 66 cents, because that's what we had put in the voter pamphlet.
Yeah.
And so I'll show you that voter pamphlet tax rate also as we get in a few slides. Page 5, so that's tax rates. Page 5 is your outstanding bonds. These are the bonds that have already been issued by the district. And this goes back to a 2009 election, the first box there. You have one more payment left from your 2009 election, the Series C, the last sale of your 2009 election. That's being paid off in July 1 of 2027. You just levied for this final payment. Then you have bonds from your 2015 election, a Series A, B, and C, issued in 2016, 2018, and 2020. And then the most recent election, you sold $13,450,000 in 2023. This is from their 2022 election. And then $12,760,000 in 2025. And now we're here for the $10.5 million to wrap up this election authorization. Before I turn the page here, this just shows principal and then interest rate. It doesn't show the interest cost. I have that on the next page. But if you look at not the first box, but the second and third boxes, the $7.5 million up top and the $9.185 million, you've been making principal payments on those two. But those bonds have call dates of either 7/1/26 and then this upcoming call date of 7/1/27. And what that means is you can call the debt in early. And I'm looking really at the one that's callable on 7/1/27. So this coming April, May, if interest rates hold, you might have a refinancing to do. You have to refinance debt these days within 90 days of the call date. And so we can't call those that 2018 bond sale in, the third box over. We can't call that in until within 90 days of 7/1. So, but you can as of like April 1st, April 2nd of next year. You can also pick up bonds that were callable previously. So if you look at the second box over, those are callable on 7/1/26. Those didn't make sense to refinance this year. The bond sale would have been too small. But if you can combine the two this coming April, and that would be about a good 8 to 12 million of bonds to refinance, depending on where interest rates are. So we'll see how things go. But you probably, long story short, you might have the ability to refinance debt to save taxpayer dollars here in April, May, June.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So at what point, what interest rate are you looking at when you say now it makes sense to refinance?
Great question. So if you look, we have interest rates on those two bond issues ranging from, looks like 2.5% on the short end
Right.
to as high as a 5%er, 4%.
Yeah.
Okay, you see all those.
Yeah.
Well, we would hope to replace those interest rates with something a little lower, like 4%, 3.5% yields on the short. So if let's say the market is 3.75%, we're not going to replace your 3.25.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll only replace the bonds that are at 5 or 4. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that market.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can refinance. Well, hopefully we can refinance some and maybe most all. We'll see.
And is this something you just automatically review and
Yes.
bring to the district?
Absolutely. Yeah. I look at it as my job and the managing directors when for all of our clients, we're always looking at refinancing opportunities and then knocking on your door, calling you technically, or Zoom calling you or whatever to just let you know about it. Sometimes the savings is not much, but we just keep an eye on it, keep it on the shelf, let you know, hey, it's there, and let's see what happens. And then all of a sudden you might get a call from me, interest rate just went down 50 basis points over the past 3 months. Now it works, and so.
I'm sorry. I have
Go ahead.
a question. Do you have do you pay a point when you refinance or like you do when you refinance a home,
Yes,
for example?
absolutely.
So then you factor that into
That's
the
right.
cost
So when we
analysis?
quote the savings to the
Yeah.
taxpayers, it's always net of the cost of issuance, which includes our firm underwriting the bonds, includes legal, the rating, getting a rating from S&P. There's a bond measure paying. There's just there's costs. It's very similar to a new money sale, but yes. So every bond sale has some costs. So obviously the savings then will be net of the cost, meaning it'd be more savings, but you're subtracting out the cost from it, and we're going to quote you the net amount. And if that's attractive to you, then you'll entertain a motion to move forward with it. Of course, when you're approving the resolution, we still haven't locked in rates. Right. So we come to you for approval to move forward, and I tell you that night, I think it's going to be about $300,000 of present value savings, and then it could be, by the time we lock in rates a few weeks later, it could be $250,000. It could also be $500,000. Depends on where rates are, right? But you would pass a parameters resolution, so you'd have a floor to the savings. Right. We wouldn't go below that. Yeah. Excellent questions. Page 6 just shows your debt service with the interest cost. The principal is the blue, and the red is the interest. The combination of the two is what we call debt service, kind of like your mortgage payment. Okay, and you can see you have the largest payment is this year, and then it starts to trend down. And when we structure this is not including the $10.5 million, which I'll show you in a page or two. When we structure in this $10.5 million, we're going to put a lot of the bonds, if you don't mind, a little bit past the first few years to where it really drops down in 2032, 33, and beyond, leaving you a little bit of room in the next few years in case you want to consider an election, a new bond election. That's at the board's discretion to put it to the ballot. But this would allow you a little bit of room to where if you pass a bond election, we can layer in even those bonds while trying to keep that tax rate similar to 66 cents. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute on those projections when I show you this bond sale. Okay, page 7, this is the bonding capacity calculation. You have, as of today, 164 million of bonding capacity. That's based on statute. It's 20% of your tax base, 20% of that blue bar that I mentioned on the first slide, minus your current principal that you haven't paid down. So 164 million, you have 10.5 million you're taking down, you know, with your permission. And then if you have another bond election down the road, it won't be that. No. So
No.
you're in a good situation. I have clients that have 20 million of bonding capacity, but 50 million of needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I work with everybody and all along the spectrum there, but yeah, this is a good situation to be in.
Well, you heard the discussion about our capital.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I did.
Dovetails very nicely with that.
You've had a very, very supportive community.
Yes.
And I work in areas that do not, and
You're
so
very grateful.
also, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, there are challenges statewide. We all have our challenges, but it's nice to have the support of your taxpayers and your voters, so. All right, page 9, this is where it all comes together. This is the last slide of this presentation, really. I'm going to move from left to right. Column 2 is your assessed valuation. That's that red bar I was showing you on the first slide, the net limited assessed property value. And then the current, the 2026-27 number, the 822 million, that's actual. It was just adopted, you know, on Monday, I think yesterday. Third Monday in August, or was that last week? Anyway, this is now actual. You had 4.61% growth year over year. You've had over 4% growth for the last 4 or 5 years. So we plugged in just to project growth now going forward in column 2 and column 3. We're using those growth projections, 4%, 4%. Then to be conservative, we start to drop it down, 3.5, 3.5, 3, 2.5. You can see how. And so you can see how your tax base grows, hopefully, in column 2 over time. Column 4 and 5, that is your current bonds outstanding. That's debt service. That's what I showed you the graph, the blue and red here. This is just numerically here in column 4. And then the estimated tax impact is simply the debt service divided by the tax base in column 2 times 100. And so you can see currently your tax rate for this year has already been set at 66 cents. Okay? That's to pay for debt service of $5,370,000. I'll also say that of this year you had excess cash collected, and so there was about 2.8 million or 3 million or something. We're going to use some of that excess cash that has already been collected by taxpayers to make a principal payment from this sale while staying below 66 cents. So we're going to wash out roughly 2 million to 2.3 million of the, I think it's 3. So you'll still have a little bit of cushion there, around 750,000-ish next year after your July 1 payment, but not as much cash in the debt service fund.
I'm confused about that. That's held by the treasurer?
Yes.
And why is it excess cash?
Excess cash happens often because of interest earnings. So the tax collection cycle is every October and May,
Right.
roughly. In October, when they collect taxes, they make a January 1 interest payment, but that's usually a lot smaller than the July 1 principal and interest payment. But they're collecting taxes for the July 1 payment. So they're collecting a bunch of money in the debt service account in October, and then it sits there being, earning interest,
I see.
which is great.
Yeah.
They also have a delinquency factor in countywide for every school district that has debt service. I forget in Pima County what it is. It's like 2.5 or 3%. But they add that to your tax levy as well. Well, but if everybody pays their taxes, then you'll have an extra amount after July 1. So that cash can build up over time. And so it built up over a few years, and now it's around $3 million, and we're just going to dip into some of that to pay off debt right away. Out of the 10.5 million, about $2 million will be paid off July 1. And so you can see in column 6 and 7, this is the new $10.5 million sale. Column 6 is the principal. I mentioned that we're going to leave some blanks there in the orange. Now, the orange is just there to signify that is per statute, if you pay off principal within 5 years, that principal can be applied towards furniture, technology, and equipment. But right now, that's not your plan because you have a district additional assistance override that pays for that kind of equipment and whatnot. So you don't need to pay off debt unless you want to, but we're going to leave a little cushion there after the 27-28 if you're okay with this. And the reason why I'm thinking we do that is if you go all the way to the right, well, second column from the last, column 12, you can see that we're hoping to maintain a 66-cent tax rate in 27-28 this coming next fiscal year. And then if you decide to have another bond election, if you're thinking about having an election in as early as November of 2027, if you pass an election in November of 27, a bond election, you'd sell bonds earliest probably spring of 2028. And if you sell bonds in spring of 28, the first time it hits the tax rolls would be the 28-29 fiscal year, which is where that 57-cent tax rate is in column 12, and 59 thereafter, and then you can see it dropping over time. That's where we could layer in a new election and do our best to stay below 66 cents, at or about, just to keep your tax rate, if you want, as level as possible. I'll also highlight.
That's always a message, to interject.
Yes.
It's always a strong message that we give to our community, that we're not increasing tax rates. And I think that, we, as you've said, we do have a very supportive community. I think one of the reasons why, in addition to, I think, the solid fiscal stewardship that we demonstrate, is also that we're not increasing that tax rate. We stay within that commitment.
Yeah, you've done a great job over the years to maintain that similar, less than 70 cents, I'd say. I think you were 68 cents, 5 or 6 years ago, but somewhere below 70 cents. It's kind of where you've been as a community for, I'd say, 10 plus years. And we'd love to keep you there if possible, but also deliver, if the voters deliver, a new election. I don't know what the sizes would be yet. That's for future planning. But we're just trying to leave a little bit of room. This is the last time where we can, with this $10.5 million, to structure the debt in column 6 in such a way that gets you flexibility to be in a position to have an election while maintaining potentially less than 70 cent, let's call it, tax rates.
Thank you.
And if you look at column 13, this is the column that shows in the last voter pamphlet from the 2022 election, this is what we had projected in tax rates. And after this bond sale, and we haven't locked in rates yet, and we're assuming right now a 4.75% interest rate. I'm hoping it's less, but because I'm hoping, I'm always trying to be a little bit conservative because we haven't locked in rates. That's in a few weeks. But if you can kind of compare column 12, which is the final estimated bond tax rates after after the final sale from this 2022 election, you can see the total tax rates going all the way out 20 plus years versus what we had in the voter pamphlet. And so again, with voter pamphlets, we always try to be conservative. So we probably used 5% interest for every bond sale, and we probably locked in 4, 4.25, or 4.5, over the past 5 years. So the interest costs were a lot lower than what we projected. Your tax base probably grew more than we had projected in the voter pamphlet. So the combination of those two things allowed you to stay below 66 cents, but also to have it lower in every year than what we had projected and showed the voters. That's a good thing. And it's generally what's been happening over the last 20 years when we put voter pamphlets together. I just hope that it'll be like that going forward. And interest rates aren't, 8% 5 years from now or something. God forbid. So with that, that's really all I have. The rest of this is just footnotes and whatnot. But in terms of timing, with your permission this evening and approval, we would move towards a pricing. That's when we lock in the interest rate the week of September 14th. When we get closer to that week, our underwriter, Mike Imhoff out of Denver, who underwrites for all of our Arizona paper, he or his colleague, will select a day during that week, typically, if we're ready to go. And our goal is to, There's a securities document we're working on. We're going to have a due diligence call tomorrow and a rating call the day after. Yes. So we have work to do. A few conference calls with staff. Yes. But anyway, we're hoping to all get to the place where we're locking in interest rates the week of the 14th, and then your rates are locked. No more interest rate risk for you. And then we move towards closing, the more important, locked in interest rates is very important, but then closing is when funds will be delivered to the district, and that is projected to be October 8th. And then that money is in the bond building fund with the county and able to be spent. So you have before you a resolution. I believe John had walked you through that or talked to you guys about that a little bit, but he's available to answer any questions related to any legal questions you might have.
I just have one more for you. So
Oh, sure.
my recollection is from the 22 election, we were asking for 38 million total, 38.5. So this 10.5 rounds out to, I didn't do the math, I assume, so we did 38, so this is the last 10.5, that makes 38.5.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just,
Yep. Now when we sell bonds, we're going to use 10.5 million of your authorization, but we're going to raise it through a combination of principal and premium. This is getting into the weeds.
okay.
Okay, so if you add the three principals up, it may not equal 38.5, but
Okay.
we will have delivered to your district 38.5. Interest rates are interesting. There's a yield and a coupon, and the coupon these days is higher than the yield, and that generates premium. But anyway, to answer your question, yes, 38.5 million after this sale will be raised for projects. Now, there's a few costs of issuance that have to be paid per statute out of that authorization. So you've had 3 bond sales. There's just a couple line items per statute. And all the other costs of issuance we pay for at a premium outside of the 38.5. So we do our best to maximize how much you get out of the 38.5 for your projects and then minimize the amount for costs. So,
I have a question for you as well, if
Sure.
if I may.
Uh-huh.
How much volatility are you seeing in interest rates these days?
oh, yeah. You had to ask that. No,
I
okay.
did. Somebody had to.
Actually quite a bit. Interest rates have been trending higher over the past 6 to 8 months. So we have, I don't have it here, maybe I should have threw it in, but we have this graph that shows in year 1 through year 20 of interest rates, the 20-year range of rates, okay? That might be like this. So year 1, the range of interest rates, year 5, year 10, year 15, the range over the last, 20 years. And where interest rates are now is kind of like 2/3. I mean, it's kind of like in the middle, a little bit higher than in the middle of where we are historically over the last 20 years. And I'm hoping we get in the mid-4s. We'll see. But if we do, I mean, I know interest rates are nowhere near where they were 5, 6, 7 years ago when
Right.
we were all earning 0.01% in our checking accounts, savings accounts, or in your debt service funds or your bond building funds, the interest. But so now you're able to earn more because interest, on the investment side, but the cost of borrowing is now, for the past 4-ish years, 5 years, we're in a typical range. My 30-year career, I mean, in the 4s typically has been kind of the average. I think it was an anomaly to be in the 2s, for 20-year paper, 5, 6, 7 years ago when, so. But we're kind of back up where it's been a lot throughout my career.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is maybe a vague question, but I know you have extensive experience with school districts of various types and sizes. Are there any general trends that you're seeing that we should understand? Not necessarily the specifics of a bond sale or financing, but just more broadly what you're seeing with school districts issuing bonds.
With school districts issuing bonds, so that's the caveat. Okay.
I mean, if you have a different answer without that caveat.
No. So, I mean, statewide, I'm seeing districts having lower enrollment. I don't know if that's where you're at, or you're pretty steady. That's actually a good thing. A lot of districts in the valley, for instance, are getting hit pretty hard. Not all of them, but in the East Valley, the West Valley, they're all previously fast-growing areas. There may still be growing fast, but there's a lot of charter and private school and this whole ESA voucher, lower enrollment, lower birth rates, all that coming. And they're struggling with that. So that's seems to be a kind of a common theme statewide. I'm always surprised when I hear, "Oh, we're still growing." Oh, wow, you're the anomaly right now. But so that's one thing. For bonds, well, it depends on the community. But a lot of the bond elections, for instance, last year that I had, were also in those outskirt Buckeyes and Queen Creek, East Valley, and a lot of them failed. So not as much voter support.
Have they previously succeeded?
Not really over the past 5 years.
Okay.
5 to 6, 7 years.
School districts here that passed,
Yeah.
finally this year.
I mean, we
Yeah.
had a much better
Sunny
record,
side.
right?
So, I mean, if you ask me in about a month, well, after November, I have, I want to say 8 clients. 7 of them are school districts. This is just me. We have way more elections we're working on. But in terms of bonds, I'm working on 7 of them. Most of them are outside of Maricopa County. Yavapai County. Oh, gosh, I don't think I have any in Pima right now. But we'll see. I'm kind of hopeful that those communities are going to show up. Those issuers are less frequent. They call for elections a lot less frequently. But everybody has a lot of needs. And so the communities I'm hoping will rally around those districts and support them. But we'll see. We'll have those election statistics in mid to second or third week of November that we'll share with our clients.
Perfect. And not knowing some of the mechanics behind this, but do enrollment trends directly impact the ratings, or is that an objective part of the evaluation?
Great question. So they can,
Okay.
if you have like a kind of an epic decline, where it's really tough to figure out what to do from a budget standpoint. But usually, if I'm seeing mostly it's just kind of a trend down, but not a steep decline. And as long as districts are managing to that and managing their finances accordingly, which is never fun, but as long as they're staying ahead of the curve with that, I'm not seeing too much rating action negatively around that question. It's usually other things. I did have a client recently be downgraded 1 notch, but they had really a lot of trouble from a board level and management level. Like superintendent and business manager were revolving doors for many years. It just was really tough to, so that was a very interesting situation, but they got downgraded throughout that whole process. Yeah, so, it's important to have hopefully a lot of, well, I mean, it's good to dialogue and be passionate about things, but also to be supportive of, as much as possible the items that you guys are voting on. Not always, but, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a great question.
Any others? Any questions, comments?
Very much appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Can I ask, just so I know we're not missing anything, what would be a kind of question we might ask on the legal side? I feel like you're sitting there, I want to make sure you have your moment.
Let's just bring, come on up.
Okay.
Got all suited up.
Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To a panel.
One of those paragraphs is just 1 sentence long. It's just 1 sentence that happens to be a very long paragraph. How do lawyers do that?
It's one of those tricks of the trade, Mike. It's a slick thing we do. No, absolutely. No, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Bartlett, Ms. Westover, very nice to be here tonight. As I was talking to a couple of you before the board meeting, I'm an associate attorney with Gus Rosenfeld. On this deal, we would serve as bond counsel, and we work hand in glove with the folks at Stiefel on many, many bond issuances all across the state of Arizona. And the only thing that I would want to mention is I wanted to echo Mike's comments about the trends that we've been seeing, because we've been seeing them too. And on many of the deals that we work with Stiefel, and then just in our practice representing school districts all throughout the state, enrollment continues to be a problem, and community support in certain districts continues to be a problem. And I think those items, when you look at this district, that's a credit to your district. you have so much community support here, and you have steady enrollment because this is a fantastic district.
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful to get that perspective. Yeah, because we know what we know. But
Yeah, absolutely.
the outside perspective is nice. All right, any other? This is a lot. I want to make sure everyone has time to digest, and if there's any other comments.
Well, that's why I so appreciate your presentation. Because
Yes.
it's a lot of information, but you conveyed it in a very digestible manner. So thank you for that.
I make a motion?
I would love that.
I move that the governing board approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of the Catalina Foothills Unified School District Number 16 of Pima County, Arizona, school improvement bonds, project of 2022, Series C, 2026, delegating authority to approve certain matters with respect to the bonds, providing for the annual levy of a tax for the payment of the bonds, authorizing the appointment of a replacement agent, bond registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent, authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of the bonds, approving the form of the bonds and certain documents, and authorizing completion, execution, and delivery thereof, delegating the authority to approve the method of sale and to approve and deem final a form of preliminary official statement if applicable, and ratifying all actions taken or to be taken to further this resolution.
That's the one sentence you were talking about.
Yeah, that was impressive.
And I'm a lawyer.
It's a professional use of semicolons.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Safe travels.
Yes.
Our other item of new business tonight is the consideration of the Arizona School Boards Association Draft 2027 Political Agenda. This is an action item presented by me. This item is placed on the agenda for the governing board to consider action to approve the ASBA 2027 Draft Political Agenda and to direct the district's delegate, which is me, to represent the governing board's determined position. It's all about me.
I feel like you're just talking to yourself.
Me. So you all have in front of you, I believe, the mission, values, and core beliefs, and the proposed 2027 political agenda report for consideration. The reason that I wanted this on the agenda was really just to see there are a few edits, and I will be able to comment on those, vote in favor, vote against. I did receive a phone call earlier today and got talked through the process and procedures for voting this year, which is a little bit different than in the past. One piece of that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that we can submit any proposed amendments to this agenda by email up until September 4th, and that gives everyone time to digest them before the meeting. If something comes up after that, I am also able at the actual voting session to submit amendments at that time, but of course then they're just read on and acted on right then. So if anyone saw anything in this that they objected to or wanted me to speak out directly in favor of, this is the forum to say that.
Hopefully for your sake, with being able to submit amendments prior to the meeting, that it will cut down on floor amendments, because that's generally where the whole shebang sort of bogs down.
I do plan to bring a snack because I've observed that, but
Hopefully they'll feed you, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I do hope that as well. And honestly, a lot of the things that are in here are pretty benign, and they tend to be reformatting of existing issues. Personally, I was happy to see some encouragement around, hey, let's push for some of the same regulations that we as public school districts abide by to also extend to charter, private, and other schools. I think that's a no-brainer. But yeah, if there's any other thoughts, comments, questions?
love the amendment to allow board members to use the eQual system in addition to in-person signature gathering, along with every other elected
Yes,
office in
right.
the state,
Right.
which I'm sure everyone in our audience would also appreciate.
And to clarify, this is really just saying this is what we want ASBA to be saying on
Be
our
working
behalf.
towards, yeah.
So this is nowhere near a promise of anything actually happening, but at least these are our voices at work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for agreeing to be delegate.
Oh, it is my pleasure. I figure traffic at 8 or 9 p.m. going up to Phoenix is probably going to be better than whatever you all have to deal with the next day.
Possibly.
So,
Midday,
yeah.
yes.
I have a question about that. Establish dedicated funding for research-based early literacy programs. Is that because those programs that's basically an unfunded mandate from the legislature?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I love when they do that.
Which page?
Oh, it's on, I don't know. It's actually just under the text color example. Okay. Sorry. Oh, I mean, it was blue. There's a lot of language that's specific to rural school districts, which I think is important because, sometimes Phoenix and Tucson can dominate. And even obviously Maricopa County and Pima County, there's a lot of rural school districts and they have different needs. So I like to see ASBA having a big tent.
Right.
To address some of those issues too.
Item number 3 that's being amended on page, I guess these don't have page number, page 6.
Oh, okay.
Under require public accountability and transparency. It sounds like this is trying to get at expanding the definition of classroom spending as well, which I think is going to be pretty important given the
Ballot measure?
the ballot measure that's going to be on the November ballot, which is
320.
a little bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. So this one becomes very, very important to a lot of school districts, ours included.
Every school district.
Every school district. Yeah.
I mean, refresh my memory, there were only a couple that met that threshold, or meet that threshold right now, right?
Two
Two.
of the 89 schools that are going to be adhering to, if
it passes.
If it passes, there are 89 schools that have to abide by that, and 2 are already at the 60%.
Schools or school districts?
Districts, right?
School districts.
School
I'm sorry,
districts.
districts. It's district spending.
Yeah, it's district-wide.
Yes, it's district.
Yeah, this one is huge. Even irregardless of the proposition that's on the ballot,
Right.
because their definition of classroom spending doesn't begin to cover what we have to spend to educate kids in a classroom.
Run a classroom.
Exactly.
Much, yeah.
And any future funding that's going to come to raise teachers' salaries is going to be using that definition.
Yes.
So regardless of the proposition, that it's going to be problematic
Yeah.
because any increase in teacher funding is going to use that definition.
All right, well,
Is this just a for information item? Reminds me.
it's,
I think.
Is there an action?
I believe we have it as a motion, so it is an action item, but to direct me to represent our
Yes.
position, which
Yeah,
is
which,
And to trust your judgment.
to trust my judgment, because I'll be voting with a paddle apparently up or down on each
Oh, wow.
one of these, yeah.
So you need a motion.
I need a motion.
I move the governing board approve the Arizona School Board Association's draft of the 2027 political agenda as presented and direct Tom Logue to represent the governing board's determined position.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right,
Thank
Thank you.
for representing us.
yes, thank you for giving me permission to. Trusting my
Be
judgment.
like, thank you or shucks.
Everyone does once. All right, that moves us to item 6, discussion of reports. 6.1 is a standing item on our agenda to discuss Arizona legislative and governmental activity.
I do have something. I attended the ASBA Prop 320 webinar last week, and it was very well done, very neutral in tone, so I applaud Jimmy Arwood for that. And I believe that he did a really great job of, how did this even happen in the middle of the night? How did we get here? What's going on? Who are the, I don't want to say power players, but who's kind of queuing up on either side to support or not support this and things like that. And I believe that ASBA was they recorded it, and I think they're going to post it somewhere or access it. So I would encourage my fellow board members it's really fast. It was only about half an hour before they got to questions. So it's a really fast watch, very informative. I immediately went to the Auditor General's website and looked at our little pie chart to see where we were with spending. And so kudos to ASBA for that. That was great content, and hopefully people are paying attention, our fellow ASBA members, and watching it as well.
It's just sticky because it sounds so reasonable
Yes.
to have 60% of every dollar spent in the classroom. It sounds really reasonable. Why isn't that number higher?
It's not even the classroom, it's direct instruction,
Direct instruction, you're right.
That's the
Direct
problem.
instruction. Yeah,
because there's so much more that goes into classroom
absolutely.
attending. They did offer that they would come down and
Right.
do presentations too, if that's something we're interested in. They would do the presentation live for us. But I recommend that you watch it first, and you can see.
To boards or to other groups?
Communities.
Boards or communities.
It's maybe something that FFOs should consider.
Yeah.
People are gonna have to be out there, like, real soon, talking about this
Being knowledgeable about it.
and being knowledgeable about what this actually means.
He did a really great
Means.
job too of saying, it says athletics, but what does that really mean? And there's still a lot of vagueness with what is this, like getting your arms around it, should this pass, what actually would qualify, so that, it sounds good, but then it always makes me feel a little uncomfortable when we vote on something and then the things are decided afterward. And yeah,
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
sure.
Is it an hour, the webinar?
It's scheduled for an hour, but the presentation part was only about half an hour, and then they went to Q&A.
So that
So
could
they're
be
gonna
like
disseminate the video?
That's what they said they were going to do,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
They recorded it.
We can probably, actually, once they put it up, they'll put it on their website as well, we can go out and find it.
And it is going to be discussed at the law conference too. They
Yeah.
said that there will be a session on this at the law conference.
Great.
Any other legislative or governmental activity to discuss?
Well, the Protect Education was kicked off the ballot, so we will not be voting on the,
Yep. Does that leave any ESA measure on the ballot?
It leaves, doesn't it leave the one that was referred by the state legislature?
No, that was
No.
kicked off too.
That
That
one's
was
kicked
kicked
off
off
as
too,
well? How
yes.
did I miss that?
yeah, so I
Oh, well,
don't think
that's
there's-
good, at least.
No, so I think
Nothing.
this will be in the campaign for the superintendent of public instruction. That will,
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
that will be
And it'll go back to the legislature.
correct.
Tears, a lot of work to do.
Yes, indeed, she does a good job.
She does. Yeah.
And I know you mentioned this earlier when we were talking about fundraising, I think, but thinking about the recently passed food-related laws, we feel good about SFE having that under
Yes,
control for us.
absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. I know it's some very specific things.
Oh, yeah.
And they have to be approved for the school lunch program and all of it. They're on top of all of that.
I've seen some messaging that I think is related to that without overtly stating it, but discouraging sharing, even among students for the things that they bring, because that's now technically legal as well. Is that correct?
No, parents can send
For their kid,
for their kid.
but the kids are
The
not.
kids
No,
are
they
not
can't
supposed to share it.
No.
So we're gonna teach our kids not to share.
Right. Are you thinking through how that actually gets enforced?
Yeah, right. Go to the kindergarten
Like
lunch
lunchroom
table.
monitors with a paddle, I guess. I don't know.
Dividers.
Yeah.
Dividers, oh, man.
Somebody wants to come out of it.
All right. So we should probably adjourn
probably
before
do-
you.
we should
yeah,
probably-
you're
Before I explode.
thinking, All right, so no other legislative, governmental, going once, going twice. All right, agenda planning is tomorrow at 2 p.m.
At
in
the
person
office.
at MAC.
At MAC.
All right,
Great.
perfect. Well, with that, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.